So I have one more caller that I want to get to. Let's talk to Christian in Ohio. Christian, you have been waiting for so long, and I am so grateful that you waited. Thank you so much. You are live on Skeptic Generation. How's it going?
I'm doing very well. I'm very grateful that you extended the show to take my call.
Of course.
I have been listening ever since you guys started this show, and I was a fan of you guys back when you were on Atheist Experience and other things as well.
Even? Yeah. That's awesome.
So very glad that you're back, but obviously anytime you need to step away again for your mental health, I support. I'm just happy to have you on my Sunday again.
Red, I'm so glad that you exist. Thank you. I was so worried that people were going to feel betrayed, so thank you.
Oh, no. Always support taking some time off for mental health. I need it too, so I get it.
Sure.
My question is kind of a more practical one, that I've been thinking about calling about for a while. I was probably working up the courage to do it right before you went off the air, and now you're back, and now I can ask it. But it's okay. I've even gotten better at this thing that I'm going to ask about. So my question is about using gender-neutral pronouns. I am non-binary identifying myself, although I don't consider myself trans. I still present as a man. I allow everybody in my life to call me through masculine pronouns, but like in my head, I know gender is a construct and I do not identify with masculine things. And so I identify as non-binary if people ask me, but most people, I don't care that they don't ask. But also I have a lot of people call me gay and stuff, even though I'm straight mostly. And because I am not very masc presenting in a lot of like personality ways, even though outwardly, like physically I am. Anyway, enough about me. So I'm non-binary, asking a question about non-binary pronouns. I have a really hard time getting my brain to use them consistently. And I'm really thankful to you because you have modeled it for me a lot with how you refer to thee. And it has helped me get better at using the correct pronouns for them. And but that has taken a long time. Like I've known of thee for years, and I'm finally getting better at my brain recognizing what is true and not trying to go back to the old binary that I used to believe in when I was raised Christian. And so when I have like years and years of practice, it's great, but that is not always the case. And so I was wondering if you had any tips about how you trained your brain to get more comfortable with like reflexively using they, them pronouns, because I'm not good at it.
I think this is, how people say the world will be a better place when we plant trees that will never live to enjoy the shade.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like we're planting those trees. And I feel like most people, when you hit your 20s and your brain stops growing, things, that kind of brain elasticity, it becomes more difficult. And it sounds like you have been implicitly graceful and charitable to everyone around you, in that you are granting so much for everybody else. And I think that we're in a situation, in a place where there's this idea that, people are going to be mad at me if I misgender them, right? You are coming in gracefully and kindly right at the start. You're front loading, like, hey, this is what I'm comfortable with you calling me right now. And like the amount that you are giving is huge. And I wish that everybody could see that, because there's so much that you're already doing that I feel, it does take grace and patience and forgiveness in a lot of ways for people, who are figuring that shit out. And it's not your burden to bear unless you want to take that on. There's so many pieces to it. so I guess I need to zero in because I'm getting too broad and that's going to not help. How did I train my brain into using they, them pronouns? Practice. And I gave non-binary people a place, their own cubby. I think that before I really engaged in trans and non-binary spaces, I had a cubby for boys and a cubby for girls, and that was kind of it. So you had to choose between them. And now I have a cubby for theys. And it's interesting. Like I guess the first example that comes to mind for me is I was told that bi culture has people sit funny in chairs, and I sit funny in chairs, and I'm bi, right? I'm never not doing a show where I'm crossing my legs or sitting on my knees, or something like that weird in the chair. And a lot of people like create a cubby for that and go, this is where they get to be, and these are the kinds of things that they get to have. And as soon as I created a cubby for non-binary folks, I started to see a whole lot of things that non-binary folks are doing to signal that they're non-binary when it comes to clothing or language or things like that. And it became its own place for me. And eventually, I think that I had fucked up and misgendered people enough that my kind of go-to is to just assume that I don't know their gender right off, starting out. And I guess I reflexively use they, them pronouns for most people, unless they specifically, indicate to me otherwise. I had habits like calling people brother that are very gendered until a cis woman came to me and said, Eric, can you call me brother too? Because I feel like I'm missing out, because it feels like something you do with boys, and I want to be a part of that. And so it doesn't matter whether you're a boy or not. I call people brother. The only people I'm like nervous about doing that with is people who specifically, like trans women who are afraid that feels, awkward and misgendering.
Right.
I won't use that, but like otherwise, that's something that I've kind of universalized a bit. I don't know, the doing that for yourself, I think that I would want you to talk to other people who use they, them pronouns, because I'm sure that there are as many stories and as many tactics as there are people.
Yeah.
But speaking as somebody who doesn't use they, them pronouns, that's the best I have to offer. But that is so far from definitive. I really do recommend that you talk to people that you share that with and listen to them, because I'm sure they have a lot more relevant information than I do.
Well, thank you. One of the reasons that I struggle is because one of my very best friends, who I've known for years and years, came out maybe about a year ago as non-binary, although they are very graceful as well and formerly used she, her pronouns, and so they're very accommodating with the people around them. And I still, in my head, like, because they've been a friend for such a long time, they're still in the she, her category in my head. And I have to, like, if I catch myself, I have to really think about it before I use they, them. And that person doesn't care. They're very sweet. But I wish that I had that cubby that you're talking about. And I think that would help.
It is way harder to do that for people you already know, because they have a cubby that they've been in. So you don't just get to cubby that friend. You've got to take them out of the cubby that they have been in and then put them in a new one, which means that like you have to undo stuff instead of just doing it immediately. I think I'm really lucky that V came out to me as non-binary early in us knowing each other. And so I was able to cubby them pretty quickly because I didn't have to undo a whole lot. So maybe I haven't earned as much as you think. I do have friends who are non-binary who I grew up with, and I can tell you that it took a lot of grace and patience and kindness on their part until I was able to get it right. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned that most NB people are so gracious about it. That has
Oh my
always been my
gosh.
experience as well. There's the media stereotype of like the quick clap back, you will gender me appropriately, but I've never witnessed that in real life. I've seen maybe some viral videos or whatever, but it's so much more common that you are more broken up about it than they are. Like,
Oh, absolutely. And the thing that kills me is those viral videos that you're talking about. It's probably somebody on their worst day.
right, exactly.
And how uncharitable. You know, if you talk to them a week later, they're probably not going to do that. And if they are, then holy
Right.
shit, you know, we don't know what's going on in their lives, but to assume that everyone is that way, I think is responding in fear. And I think that it's something that I've done too in other places. Is my first
Mm-hmm.
response to something unknown is for me to be as forward as I can be about the things I'm afraid of. And
Mm-hmm.
it's uncharitable to yourself and it's uncharitable to everyone else. And I think it's a habit that we have. So like I said, I appreciate your grace, and it's an ongoing conversation. But I do definitely recommend that you talk to other people who are in the same boat, because as an outsider, I'm just some fucking asshole on the internet, you know? Like, don't.
Well, just know that you have been instrumental, even in your cistness. You have been instrumental in me getting better at it just through modeling. I'm a teacher, and so I have to
Hey,
model things for my students all the time. And you have been modeling for me, and I appreciate it. It's the best way that I learn.
I send in love. Thank you, Christian. Thank you for calling in.
No problem. Thanks for taking my call. Have a good one.
Okay. Sorry.
What's up?
I reread the thing and I was like, is Christian Christian? No. Okay.
No,
No.
the irony is not lost on me, though.
Hey,
Yeah.
you know what? Appreciate you, and that is your heritage. That is yours. You get to fucking keep it, and there's nothing wrong
Yep.
with that. Have an
Yep.
awesome
I
rest.
keep the name. I wear it proudly.
Good.
You too.
Take care.
Bye.